Hello, everybody. I am very happy to be here and talking to the Conference for Energy and Growth 2024. Thank you to the Energy Institute of Southeast Europe. And let me briefly say that in these 8 minutes, I'm gonna talk about transformative innovation for the sustainability transition. And I'm gonna claim that in order to reach sustainability, and specifically sustainability with regards to how we handle climate change, we need very quantifiable frameworks of analysis. So the sustainability transition is a very data hectic and science hectic endeavor, and it is quite demanding in terms of how we integrate towards holistic transformations. We are facing a multi-crisis, economic crisis, low growth rates, inflationary pressures, shrinking fiscal spaces. 1/3 of the countries in the world at the brink of default, and this is coupled with the climate crisis, the destabilization of climate that transposes into increased frequency, severity of extreme weather events. And to this, we add the collapse of ecosystems on which our economy and society depend. All this leads to an increase in inequality between the global south and the global north, and inequality between different income groups within countries. And all this inequality leads to geopolitical pressures and war. In 2015, at the UN, 163 countries have agreed that our way out of the multi-crisis is UN Agenda 2030, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the 169 targets within these goals. This is not an environmental agenda. This is an agenda that includes 4 goals about the environment, natural capital, 8 goals about the society, and 4 goals about the transformation of the economy. The last SDG is SDG 17, which is about collaboration for the implementation of the goals. And of course, our aim now is to transpose these 17 goals and 169 targets into implementable transformation pathways for each and every country in the world in order to reach sustainability. This is exactly what the Alliance of Excellence for Research and Innovation on IFORIA works, which brings together research and innovation centers, innovation acceleration hubs, science policy networks, and scientific associations and academies that I lead in some capacity, president, chair, co-chair, task force leader, and so on. And these efforts are supported by 200 researchers under 100 plus different project contracts, and with case studies in 120 countries. So what we try to do here is to understand what we promised in 2015, the SDGs and the Paris Agreement about climate change, constraining the increase in average global temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius, compared to what we had in the pre-industrial era. And then in 2019, the announcement of the European Green Deal, that was the transposition of the SDGs into a detailed European policy framework. This transposition happened in all other regions of the world, but definitely the European Green Deal is the leadership example, and it includes many different regulations, the climate law, the EU taxonomy, the Fit for 55, Repower EU, the nature restoration law, and so on, that basically translate the SDGs, the 169 targets, into implementable policies. So these are our targets. In order to transform, we need to know where we are and how we are going to build the optimal mixture of technologies, policies, fiscal and financial instruments that will allow us to reach these targets in the policy agenda. To know where we are, we have to measure. Every year, the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network publishes a report that shows where each and every country stands with regards to its implementation of the SDGs and the 169 targets using about 300 KPIs. And we know that we are not making fast progress. The progress is very slow. Red means major challenges, below 50% implementation. Orange means significant challenges, below 60% implementation. And this measurement quantification can give you the picture for each and every system that we want to transform into a sustainable system. You can see the map of food systems and climate systems and land use systems and marine use system across the world. This is the 2024 report, and it is full of reds. And we can also downscale our measurement at the European Union level and the country level, at the within country regions, at the company level, institution level. So what I try to communicate to you is that first we created a way to measure where we are. And our second effort is to develop the optimal mixture of technologies, policies, fiscal and financial instruments that will allow us an implementable pathway in order to reach the policy targets I have shown you. One of the policy targets of the European Green Deal is net zero by 2050 and 55% reductions in global greenhouse emissions from European greenhouse emissions by 2030 compared to what we had in 1990. In order to sketch a national pathway for each and every country in Europe, but also beyond Europe, UNSTSN has put together the Global Climate Hub that I lead and works at the moment in 120 countries. It has 3 layers of application. The first layer is interdisciplinary mathematical modeling, which brings together the climate scenarios, the energy and transport systems, the land use and marine systems, the health systems, the innovation systems, develops transition pathways from where we are today to where we want to be in 2030 and 2050, and then integrates everything into general equilibrium socioeconomic systems. And this general equilibrium answers the question how these pathways in each and every system that is included in the economy, the energy, the transport, the land use, the marine system, the innovation system, the health system can be financed, how we can finance the transformation, and how we can support the vulnerable that cannot pay for this transformation. The second layer is a transdisciplinary co-design layer. And here we work with the stakeholder so that the transition pathways for each system, but also the integration of the systems are acceptable by the stakeholders. The stakeholders become co-designers and shareholders of the transition pathway. And at the same time, they are given training and education in order to have the skills and knowledge to be part of the labor force of this transformation. And the final layer is the climate data and platforms layer, which integrates all we do in an AI-based platform. The methodology that we implement for the transition pathways development of the global climate hub has been published in Nature Sustainability. So you can look at this, but also here is the soon to be open access platform and digital applications structure of this global climate hub. It collects all the data in the data sources and updates on an AI basis. Then it has a modeling suite with the land use model, the energy model, the forest model, the economics model, and also a lot of visualizations and decision support tools that can engage the stakeholders. I will close this presentation, given that I am talking to the Southeast Energy Institute with our work on the optimal energy sourcing for 2050 in Europe. This is how through a cost minimization model, we've derived the optimal source of energy in each and every country in Europe, the UK, and the Balkans. And this is how we see the optimal energy corridors. And not only with regards to biomass, biogas, coal, hydro, hydrogen, lignite, municipal waste, natural gas, nuclear, natural gas, carbon capture and storage, oil, solar, wind, offshore, wind, onshore, but also in the little picture down, we have optimal production of hydrogen and hydro corridors across Europe. This model we integrate with the land use system, agriculture, and forest, the marine use system. We integrate remote sensing, we integrate water requirements, we integrate marine optimization systems, we integrate resilience pathways using hazards modeling, and at the end of the day, we integrate socioeconomic modeling. So in closing this presentation, I want to send two messages. The first message, quantification is important. The second message, modeling integration is important. We have to look at all the systems because the UN SDG Agenda 2030 and the European Green Deal are heavy on systems integration, but not only that, not only using mathematical modeling, we need to integrate in these systems integration, stakeholders, co-design. So the science gives the pathways, but the final implementable policy recommendations are co-designed and validated by the stakeholders. Thank you very much for your attention.